Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Business. Joining us today is John Cachia from Thriving Wealth, one of the fastest growing practices in the country. And John is the 2024 FAAA Advisor of the Year. So we're really pleased to have John with us today. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
As usual, our other coaches in Bram Lagrou and Kylie Denton, how are you both?
2 thumbs up. Oh,
Fantastic.
Kylie, you're on mute.
So good to see you back, Arthur.
Thank you so much. I got the tan.
Yes, you do.
Give it about 2 weeks and I'll be paler again. Anyway, so it was a lovely trip away, 4 weeks away in Los Angeles in a place called Orange County, and back to work today. So, John, thank you for joining us. Is there anything that you can't do? I mean, you're the FAAA Advisor of the Year. You've been growing your practice exponentially year to year. I have the privilege of watching that as your licensee and long-term business partner. You got a growing team, an enthusiastic team. You're also running your own podcast, the Cash Talk. Where do you find the energy and what drives you?
Oh, mate, great question. When you put it like that, I kind of figure out where I do it as well. But what you asked the first question is is there anything I can't do? Well, first and foremost is to try and read my wife's mind. That's probably the hardest. I'm still trying to figure that out on the run. And the second thing is also just trying to, wrangle the 3 boys, So parenting is by definitely the hardest task that's been given to me so far. So it's making me hopefully grow in a great way. But listen, it's been an amazing journey. I'm very grateful for being in the position I am in. But there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that has made me who I am today. And there's been a lot of people in my corner, supporting me, helping me, and just very grateful to be in the position where I am, which is now, really not just with my sons, but also with people that I meet, empowering them to get the best out of them as well too, which I'm sure we'll kind of dive into a little bit today.
It sounds like you practice gratitude on a daily basis, John. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm a devout Christian, guys. I read the Bible very often. I went on a major exercise last year to read the Bible cover to cover. So from July to December, I read all 66 books, day in, day night, morning, afternoon, and, get right into scripture. I am a massive history buff. I love history. It's just my jam. I'm a firm believer that, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And if we kind of look back in history, we kind of, see where we are today. So, my gratitude does come from my belief. I'm a firm believer in what the Lord did, and so I live by that every single day. But but how amazing is it? In history, we're in the most, even though there's wars that are going on at the moment, which are atrocities, and we do want to stop. We're in a very, very special place in life, in human history right now. And when the sun rises and the sun goes down, how amazing is that? So I try to stay grounded, and a part of being grounded is also about being grateful. And grateful for just everything that comes our way, good, bad, and ugly.
And so the gratitude is practiced religiously, so to speak. And in terms of your beautiful family, the best is yet to come. You've got a very supportive wife and Bochu, and you've got 3 lovely boys who I'm sure are running around, and you're trying to keep up and do all that kind of stuff. You got some amazing times ahead of you. But what really stands out with anyone that I'm sure talks to you, John, is you got a strong sense of purpose in your life. You're driven by certain values. And how do that purpose and how do those values perpetuate into your other baby, which is your business? Tell us about that.
Yeah, great question. So I remember being at school, I'm talking about high school, and I remember listening to Glenn Manton. Remember he used to play for Carlton, Glenn Manton?
Yep.
Anyway,
Yep.
And he was speaking at school, and there's always little people that come across, and you get little kind of, bits and bobs out of everyone. But he said something that stayed with me for a very long time, and even today is around you don't want to live life thinking what if, not thinking what if. And that really hit me, and I'm really glad I was like maybe like 14 or 15 years old when that happened, because I think that's where it all comes from. It comes from like, it sounds morbid as it is, but like sitting on your deathbed and thinking I should have lived a better life. So what do you truly want? What do you truly want? And for me and the people that are around me, understand that it's about spending more time with the people I love, doing the things I love doing. Cool. Now, what does that mean to me? Okay, what do I love doing? Not because of what else another person wants. What do I love doing? Well, I love history. I love traveling. I love seeing the world. So everything I do, all of my values are centric around that. Okay, and so when you talk about the business, well, aren't I in an amazing job that can turn people's dreams into a reality? So I built the business to help people turn those dreams into reality. And we know simply by first and foremost, are we living someone else's dream or are we living your dream? So what is your dream? And so we need to understand what that dream looks like. Understand what your vision looks like. Understand truly what that means. Because if you're living someone else's dream, you're going to be miserable on your deathbed. And so we went on a journey in Thriving Wealth, because Thriving Wealth for many, many years was a traditional financial planning practice, you know, super, insurance, blah, blah, blah. But in 2019, I was also hit with a traumatic event where I had spinal surgery. You know, look at this kind of rocket ship chair that I'm on right now. You know, some people call it the Darth Vader chair, and Kylie was having a bit of a joke about it before we jumped online. But you know, this is a zero gravity chair that helps take pressure off my back. But the reality is that event significantly changed my course, because when I'm sitting in my hospital bed looking and staring up at the ceiling and thinking like, oh, all right, I might never be able to walk again properly. I might not ever be able to play soccer, play tennis, you know, lift my sons. You know, that what do you want to live life by and what do you want to be remembered for really was in front of my mind. And so what we did with Thriving Wealth was we went and we said, okay, well, how are we truly going to make an impact? So we understood the dream. But these people are telling us these goals, but how do these goals actually come to life? So we need to get super focused on their vision. We understand their goals, not at a surface level, but at a core level. So you got like surface, emotional, core level. And then we built plans to make those happen. Now that's great. That's half of the journey. But the second part of that is around, okay, how many people have diet plans but don't stick to them? So we needed to coach them to the plan. And I firmly believe in Thriving Wealth that we are better than most, and I say that in a humble way, about coaching people on who they need to become to live that plan out. Yeah, and that's very important. So we have to go speak to psychologists and behavioral scientists and psychotherapists in regard to how can we become better on coaching our clients to become and fulfill those lives. And it's very special when we're speaking to clients. The client that I was just speaking to before we jumped on here, complex situation. We're talking about intergenerational wealth, but he's terminal. The gentleman, he's terminal, and he couldn't be so thankful about the life that he's been able to achieve with us and what we're now leaving on a legacy for his children and for his grandchildren. Geez, what a great job I'm in. Yeah, what a great job I'm in that I turn people. Very powerful. So I take that. That's the center. Yes, we have to get paid for our job, but if I'm waking up every day and turning people's dreams into a reality, you can see where the energy comes from. You can see where the passion comes from. Yeah. And so obviously coupled with that is then you get some groundswell. You do this for, you know, one person, 10 people, hundreds of people, thousands of people. You know, I feel sometimes like the builder who shows their son and says, oh yeah, that's the house I built. That's the house I built. Like I say this for, you know, people. My son, you know, my eldest boy, the other ones are a bit young, bump into someone and be like, you know, they give me a hug. It's like, who's that, Dad? Oh yeah, you know, we've done this, but like, it's a great feeling to have. And I truly believe, maybe from my religious belief, is around, you know, light attracts light, you know, and so I want to be around this positive. Sorry, Bram?
Great role model, man, for your kids. Well done.
Try to be. We'll see how they turn out. Hopefully I've put enough ingredients in there for them to have the right recipe. So we'll see how we go. But also, like, you can then take that to the business, which was another part of the question, Arthur, is around, like, we're super focused around the vision. Yeah. It's around like, what does thriving wealth want to be remembered for? John's got his personal purpose, but what's thriving wealth's personal purpose? What's the vision? Yeah. And being super clear on that, because that then goes into then who works for you. They want to be attracted to the same vision. When you walk into Apple, Steve Jobs is still around and he's been dead for years. Yeah. And so people sometimes speak to me and they go, John, your culture is amazing. And Arthur, you'd know this more than most. You know, I've got these young, enthusiastic, ready to go through brick walls because they truly believe in the vision to change people's lives and have impactful transformations for these people. And so we start with the vision, the big vision of what we want to be remembered for. What's our core values, and living and breathing by them. We hire and fire based on those values. Okay. And you need to be ruthless. And I mean this in the nicest way. You need to be ruthless, because if you're not on board of this vision and you don't share those values, this is not going to work out. You're hiring people who are in their 20s, 30s, whatever you are. Those values were set years ago. You know, the Egyptians used to say, give me a 7-year-old boy and I'll show you the man. Why do they say that? That was adopted by the Greeks and the Romans as well, was because the fundamental cause of a human is created in the first 7 years of that person's life. I can't go back and change time. So we need to hire based on these values, and these values need to be super clear. And I know Bram and Kylie, you talk about this, I'm guessing, with your coaching clients, but we live and breathe it. Yeah, live and breathe it. And we have that, you know, that true
Conviction.
energy. Yeah, conviction and energy that's in the practice. Yeah.
So what does a day on the job in your firm look like for all your people?
It's pretty amazing, man. Like, you know, we're talking to a lot of financial advising practices here. Like, you know, we're very much about having outcomes for our clients. So obviously the advisors are making sure that they're advising the clients and they're making sure that their dreams are coming to a reality. But, you know, the back end support team are punching through things. You know, I was just checking some of the numbers. Like last week we did 11 statement of advices in a week. Like Arthur will tell you that's like unheard of. Yeah. We're doing like, you know, the efficiency numbers are out the roof. But why? Because they so want to make that impact for that client. Yeah. And there's no stuffing around. And there's this, like, when you pass the baton from like the pre-advice team to the advice team, and from the advice team to the implementation team, everyone's got that. We need to have this outcome for the client. So on a day today, my day today is very different, Bram, now. Yeah. My day today is the advisor of advisors. You know, so very much my phone call, like I drop off the kids, I call Anthony, one of the advisors, because he starts with A, then I work to Aiton, then I work to JK, then I work to, like, there's this rhythm. And it's just, you know, for me, it's checking in on them. You know, they've got these complex situations, the phone call I had before, intergenerational wealth, multi-entity structures. Hey, listen, John, I need you to come in here. I need that sounding board. So advisors to advisors. I'm also very much in training as well too. Like, one of the biggest things I say to people at the moment in the financial advice industry is soft skills have exited the industry. Your ability to be a people's person, sorry. Okay. So I come from a school where we're in the job of people. And so I very much need to be focusing on these advisors and the support team around how they can become better with human connection. And with the rise of AI, which has probably been on this podcast, or it will be, yeah, because it's on nearly every topic, yeah. I am not scared of AI. I love it. I embrace it, yeah, because what we are doing and what every single one of my team members is doing is become better at being with people and having that human connection.
Yeah.
People got to feel you, of course. Absolutely. We're in a people business.
Yeah, I mean, I can get an AI tool to create the best financial models ever known to history, run Monte Carlo simulations quicker and better than anyone. Cool. You've got all the information now. Execute on it.
Totally. Yeah.
There's
an interesting study from Deloitte that they're parting ways with the term soft skills, and they're calling them power skills now. And the power skills are the soft skills on steroids, so to speak, but the soft skills that actually link and line up to the strategy of an organization, which which I think you've done very well internally, John. You've taught your people the power skill and the idea and the concept of a power skill, which is bringing that all together and the link to your strategy and the purpose, which is totally amazing. I'm going to stay quiet for a little while. I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to enjoy taking the back seat. Maybe you, Kylie, anything you want to add?
I want to add something before Kylie jumps in just quickly, because this is something that I'm even doing with my sons, which people don't get a glimpse into. Yeah, my eldest one and my middle one, they're 8 and 5. We do presentation night. Okay, so they literally once a week, they present on a topic in front of mum and dad about something that they've researched in and speak about. So, for example, later this year, we're going to Egypt. So they've done a research study. They've figured out about Egypt and Tutankhamun and the pyramids. And I get them, and they can't read off the iPad, which they're doing on. They need to look up, and they need to talk,
Yep.
We're doing this at 8 and 5.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I
love
can put my kid with your kids together, and they probably have a ball as well.
Yeah, and mine too, right? Yeah, look, I love your energy, John. I love the real key areas that you're talking about. You know, for me, you touch on this mindset, right? We've got to have this strong mindset. We've got to have this belief. We've got to have this faith, you know, that we're on the right track, that we're doing the right things. You know, leadership's not a title, it's a decision around what you do. It's what I do with my team. It's what I do with all of my clients. I help them get that mindset right. And I just did an amazing coaching session around, you know, changing that story, the story we've told ourselves for way too long that no longer serves us. And I think as leaders, that can be something that we can do with our staff. But I'm really keen, because you're talking, and we have a lot of financial advising practices here. You're talking about, you know, helping clients achieve their goals. Okay. Now, I know that clients don't believe sometimes that they're going to get the retirement that they want, that they might not have that future dream that they want. How do you help them to really change their mindset to come along that journey with them? Because it really is around having belief in you, having faith, changing their story that they can have that future. So how do you do it with your clients?
Yeah, it's very interesting that you picked up on some of the secret sauce. Yeah. And listen, I've got to talk straight. I'm a natural born leader since I was knee high to a grasshopper. Yeah. And so when we're talking with clients, I am leading them. I am showing them the promised land. I am showing them everything that they could dream of plus more. How do I do that? Well, practically, I need to show that visually, because most people are visual learners. They need to see what they could possibly achieve. When a client comes to you and says, hey, listen, my numbers are showing me this and I can't retire the way I want to, they're not coming to me to tell me that they can't. They're coming to me, how do I do it, John? Well, I teach my advisors, do not tell a client they can't. Don't say that. Tell them what they need to do to make that happen. Remember how I said before, you need to teach them on who they need to become to make that happen?
Yeah. Change the story.
Change the story. I want a six-pack. Cool. I go to my personal trainer. John, this is what you need to do to have a six-pack. He doesn't tell me you can't have a six-pack, does he?
No.
But we're wired in the financial planning industry to go X plus Y equals Z. No, that's not the equation here. The equation is we need to show them what they could possibly achieve. So I was working with a client this morning. They just sold a farm. They've inherited. They've just sold the farm. $3.5 million have come in. They've been working in this takeaway shop their whole life. Yeah. So for them, their life is very simple. Very simple. They got more money than they could dream of. Okay. They've got another $5 million farm that they're about to sell as well too. So they're different. They're not, I don't have enough to retire. They've got too much to retire on. And they actually now their ceiling has capped them on what they're possibly able to achieve. So Kylie, what do I need to do there? I need to keep going down the goals. Remember how I talked about surface goals, emotional goals, core goals? I need to take them and put them on their deathbed and say, tell me your final words. Tell me them.
Yeah.
Tell me the words that I need to pass on to your grandkids and to your great-grandkids that aren't around. What's the legacy you want to leave? Cool. All right, let's start there. And then we reverse engineer it.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I coach to this. I present on this sort of stuff, John. So that's probably why I picked up on it. But I'm passionate about it because so often we just got the wrong story. The story no longer serves us. Okay. And I love that fact that you're going, I can help you rewrite that story. It's what Bram would do in his business. It's what Arthur would do in his business. It's what we get to do. But I think sometimes we forget that we've got so much power to help them achieve their power.
We stop dreaming.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah, there's
limiting
always
beliefs and yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, correct, Arthur. Limiting beliefs. But I'd like to say, I actually was reading this the other day. Yeah, there's still that little child inside you.
Yeah.
You've just been putting it away for too long.
Yeah.
Hey, John, I've got a question for you that is quite a different one that we probably not easily would have spoken about. But if you're okay to go there, I'd love to go there together.
As long as it's not the color of my underwear, we're right. All right, Bram?
No, definitely not, unless you want to go there. But no, you said you're a natural born leader. And look, your influencing skills, your people skills, your focus, your clarity, your energy. I mean, Kylie already alluded to it. Arthur has spoken about it. It's evident. My question to you now is, as a leader, what has been your biggest takeaway as a learning lesson where you know that if I don't manage this thing of myself, it ain't going to be good for my client and it ain't going to be good for my team, potentially also my family? A key characteristic that you had to work on mindfully. I'd be very keen to hear about that. Anxiety.
Okay, single-handedly. So I have probably undiagnosed ADHD. I haven't done the official test, but when I do the ones online, A pluses all the way. Yeah, and so
you don't need testing, John. You're fine. I
passed. Thanks, Dad. What I'm trying to get at in the nicest way possible is that people who are high achievers, and I've spoken to psychologists around this, is that anxiety and depression kind of coincide very close to people who are revving at high levels. So as much as I go really high and euphoric, that energy can hit you down. Okay, yep. Correct. You get me where I'm going with this. So sorry, I'll get a little bit emotional when some things happen. It's
okay, John.
When I get anxious and I worry, and it does happen because you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable position so that you can grow. Yeah. I put my trust in Jesus Christ and he takes my worries away from me. This is different to everyone else. Yeah. And I don't put this on anyone else. For me personally, when I pray and when I talk to Jesus, yeah, my anxiety leaves me. So interestingly enough, it was something that I had to learn. This was not something that I've done for the last 30 years. This is something that I've been able to kind of adapt over the last maybe 5 years. And then when I'm in truly spiritual connection, so remember we're mind, body, and soul, yeah? So we look after the mind, we look after the body, and now I've been able to kind of look after the soul, yeah? Man, can I punch anxiety in the face, yeah? And so that has been my biggest issue. Sometimes I get knocked down, but I have to learn to get back up. You know, my dad was a professional boxer, yeah? So you don't cry over small things. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, yeah? So you don't cry over small things. You're not a marshmallow, John. You're not a marshmallow. We'll throw you in the fire and we see what happens to a marshmallow. You're not a marshmallow. So this resilience, this true grit has had to be adapted over time. And I'm getting better and better at it. Yeah. I'm working with a business coach at the moment. My first actual official business coach ever in history. I've never done it before. Okay. He's a guy called Kevin Roberts. He's the ex-CEO of Pepsi. Okay, and absolutely amazing man. For those in AIA that introduced me, thank you very much for introducing me to this 75-year-old. But he talks about the true grit that's required from a leader. Okay, the true grit. Okay, and we're going to come across tough times. That's only normal. Okay, and actually, the more tough times you come across is because you're being tested to be pushed through.
Absolutely.
So, Bram, that anxiety is something that has been something that I've had to battle through. It's something that I have to constantly remind myself of my own ways to cope through that and then get through. But every time I go through it, I find myself getting mentally stronger and mentally stronger and mentally stronger. And as a 36-year-old who started a business when I was 20, 16, nearly 17 years of over and doing this and over, mate, I am so excited for the 50-year-old version of John. The 50-year-old version of John is where's sky's the limit.
Yep.
You know, so I try and look at the positives, of these tough times and where it's grown me to now.
Good on you, man. Thanks for being real.
We just got to be conscious of our time together. We've got a few more minutes. We talked about certain strategies that other leaders can employ. You know, obviously getting clarity around their purpose, being true to their purpose, embracing purpose, and then conveying that purpose into a set of values, and working with their teams to embrace those values and have a no tolerance policy around up or out in terms of people that you recruit, people that you support. At the end of the day, you're a guide to help people reach their ultimate destination, and you're the custodian of that relationship whilst you employ people or whilst you are contracted to a client. You're responsible for them in that phase of time, in their phase of life. And sometimes the best thing you can do is actually release people to let them continue on their journey. So we've learned a lot from you today. What I find particularly interesting in a way you've been able to transform yourself, John, and continuously transform yourself. And I will ask a question in a moment around transformation and how you've been so successful in personally transforming yourself. I think you won an award recently for Transformation of the Year individual, being recognized for that at a national level, but obviously with your team and your business and your brand. But what I really find very interesting, and I'm curious, is you live in a very repetitive, or what can be a very repetitive natured role. And so if you look at financial advice, it's, you know, it can be, like you said, very linear, and traditional financial advice was. And so it's like left to right, you know, we'll start with a fact find, and we'll ask you these, these situation-based questions, and then we'll do a risk profile, and you fit into this, and that means these are the range of solutions. And so you turn the whole thing on its head, right? You transform the advice process. And I see the way you've been able to do that. But what really interests me is how you've been able to address your needs as an individual. So Maslow's needs, your needs in regards to that. And there's the balance between repetitiveness and variety. And so that is a healthy tension. So, you know, we live in a world of repetitiveness as an advisor. We're doing the same thing every day. We're talking to the same clients potentially. We're doing the same process. And so what we crave deep down is some variety. And there's some healthy ways to access that variety, and there's some unhealthy ways to access that variety. And what you've mastered is the ability to access that need in the right way through healthy ways. And that comes down to your faith, it comes down to your conviction, and it just comes down to your strong sense of purpose and being accountable as a leader. And so I would like to recognize that and call that out, is that the choices you've made is why you're in this position today. So I want to congratulate you, because people in that same situation, and these are the choices that you had, right? Yeah. And maybe as a closing question is, before you transform yourself and before you transform the business, what choices were in front of you? What could you have done versus what you did?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Thank you very much, Arthur. When me and Arthur met, I was faced in the kind of NAB Banking Royal Commission and kind of the skim off of the NAB issue, okay, where they were going out to all the advisors under the NAB licensee at that point, and we were staring down the barrel of, thousands and thousands of files at that point being audited, and the accusations that were being made onto individuals was horrendous. Yeah. And a lot of the people that I knew that had businesses at that point just sold out. It's too hard. Yeah. 1 year later, I then have spinal surgery. I've got a very, very generous income protection policy. My missus goes, "You sure you weren't the plumber with the leaky pipe?" I'm like, "We're right. We got this." Yeah. So yeah, the choice was check out. Yeah. One of the clear choices was check out. But my wife, who I love dearly, has helped me through good times and in bad. And I don't like to say behind every successful man is a successful woman, because she's right by my side. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, she's in front of me. But she goes to me, "John, your story is not finished." Wow. What a powerful statement to have when you're in that point. Your story's not finished. She knew she needed to say that. Because I know that I would have been on my deathbed thinking, what if?
Yeah. Yeah. Nice circle back there, John. Very well done. I like that. Very powerful.
But Arthur, it's what I live and breathe by. And that's the difference. There's no fakeness around it. It's a true core of who I am, and become a fundamental part of my mindset. Now, I need to be very conscious as a parent to then demand that from my children as well. Yeah. Because what is right for me might not be right for them. And then having that level of expectation to be able to do that, and then do that with my staff members, is also. So I need to kind of be the leader that shows them the way, but doesn't demand them the way.
Yeah. Let them draw their own map rather than following the map. Yeah.
Same with clients. I can show them how they're going to live their life, but I can't demand them how they're going to live their life.
Yeah.
And the ones who show it and then find it in their own path, wow. One of my journeys, the reason why to go to the faith and why I went down so much of a rabbit hole, is the greatest leader of all time, bar none, is Jesus Christ. Okay, within 3 years, because he started his ministry when he was 30, within 3 years converted pretty much the whole Roman Empire into Christianity. Spread the word and became the fastest religion in it. There is no leader that has literally changed the way that time is calculated or dates are calculated. Whoa, what an amazing leader. So if anyone ever asks me, that something around, if you're living or dead, who would you love to meet? Jesus Christ is for many reasons, not just even for faith, but leadership. Yeah. So then I learned about the way that he talks and the way that he goes about things, and you lead, and with compassion, you need to be a compassionate leader. You need to show them the way. You can't demand them the way. Wow, I need to start reading this book. And then all of a sudden you read down the thing. But I do want to leave, because we're running out of time. I do want to leave the latest book that I have read, which I want everyone to read who seriously wants to find personal freedom, because all of this, really, everything we do every single day is to find personal freedom. It's a book called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Okay, it's a quick read. It's called The 4 Agreements. Okay. Yes, because I listened to things at like 1.5 times. Yeah, I read the book in about 2.5 hours, but do yourself a favor and live your life by the 4 agreements.
Will do.
I leave the rest to you guys.
Just we're well over time, but any last questions from Kylie and obviously with our guests, the takeaway would be.
Just go with the last one, Arthur. The last question.
We'll finish it there, but the last question would have, or the question that we pose to our guests on the show today, is if you could take one action, what would it be? Have a think about that. And if our guests and our listeners can do that once they've watched this session, you'll probably find a few answers within yourself. So, John, thank you for the gift of today. We really appreciate your time. Bram and Kylie, lovely as always. You guys are legends. And John, been a privilege to watch you grow and be part of your circle. And I look forward to working with you in the many years to come. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Arthur and Bram.
Thanks, everyone.